gore whores, it's me, Dr. McElvoy. It's not my real name, and it's finally time to talk about Alien Earth, I suppose the prequel to the original movie, but also a sequel to Prometheus. Although, no, not a sequel to Prometheus, because Prometheus and Alien Covenant don't count in this universe, I don't think. But the prequel to Alien, for sure. Though the events of Alien sort of contradict a lot of what's implied here. But anyway, it's a series set before Alien. And there's been a lot of talk online about this show. A lot of chatter. Oh, I think it's all right, and I'm not so sure, and I better ask my more knowledgeable friend. Well, you can forget about all of that now because you've got this video, and this is it. This is the definitive verdict on Alien Earth. There is no need of any other. You can talk to your friends in the pub or at home or wherever you get your friends, and they'll have views and opinions, but they don't matter. This is it. This is the review. And this will also be the end of the conversation about Alien Earth. You'll just need to replay this in future if you want to remind yourself what you thought about it. So, it's from a man called Noah Hawley. No relation, presumably, to the biblical Noah. Though it could be, I don't know. I mean, his activities are also a bit of a washout. Oh, fuck you. Anyway, at one point he was going to do Star Trek. He was going to make a Star Trek movie. But unfortunately, he had apparently an original idea, and that traumatized Alex Kurtzman to such an extent, and the execs at Paramount, they said a flat out no. I mean, what if it doesn't work? They cried. Let's not do it. So poor Noah was shopping around Hollywood saying, I want to add to an established science fiction franchise and maybe ruin it. Which one? Which one can I get in on? And Disney said, hey, we own Alien. What about us? Will you make us a 10-hour Alien movie? Which encompasses an actual sort of 90-minute Alien movie? And he said, yes, I will. What would you like it to be about? He asked the Disney execs. And who haven't, of course, ever seen Alien or Aliens or Alien 3 and all the other shit that's allegedly part of this franchise but isn't. And they said, look, Noah, if I may call you Noah, this has got to work for the fans, whoever they are. That odious abstraction that we talk about in board meetings. So what I'd like you to do, if it's all right, is watch the Alien series. We don't have time to do that. We're busy men. And only men. There are no women, of course, in this board. And we'd like you to identify the themes in those movies and expand on them if you would. Riff on them. Can you do that for us? That's what the fans will want. They want something that's familiar, but novel in certain ways. But not too fucking novel, because if it is too novel, they won't recognise it as Alien. And we're not giving you $200 million to make something that isn't a sure thing. So, what did Noah come up with? Well, he came up with a bit of a weird hybrid story, funnily enough. It's funny it should be a story about hybrids, you know. humans and cyborgs, humans and synths, humans and aliens, cyborgs that become alien whisperers and all the rest of it, because it is a show characterised by a certain hybridity. On the one hand, you have this rather interesting story about a company that's a rival company to Weyland-Yutani, that tries and fails to capitalise on the chance discovery of aliens that could advance its biotech. You know, it's a riff on the theme of the movies, but it's cut with this weird Peter Pan meets Bicentennial Man story about children in adult bodies who are seduced by the creatures. It's all sort of a kind of a future noir take on teens being obsessed with gore and violence. And you feel if this had come out in the 1990s, you know, early to mid 90s, sometime after Alien 3, when there was that moral panic, do you remember, about video games? The James Bulger murderers in Britain were thought to have done it not because they were dysfunctional, degenerate children who had been warped and brutalised by abusive parents. No! They'd watched Child's Play 3 on VHS and thought, fuck it, let's go and murder a kid.
End of summer blues got you down? Well, you're in luck, because here comes the Chuck.
No, you're dead. He killed you.
Wrong again, wimp. Chucky's back, and this time, he's looking for a new recruit.
Just think, Chucky's gonna be a bro.
Child's Play 3, rated R, starts tomorrow at theaters everywhere.
There was a lot of that at the time, wasn't there? A lot of that talk in the tabloids and about how dangerous games were and how kids had become sadists with no moral compass and so on and so on. And if this had been released then, you'd think, oh, that's rather zeitgeistian, I dare say. That's in tune with the times. I can get down with that. I know what they're up to here. But in 2025, I mean, I suppose there's still a bit of it, isn't it? When Charlie Kirk was assassinated recently, if you're watching this video in 2025, a long fucking time ago. If you're not, let's talk about the assassin being, influenced by social media and online propaganda and TV and movies from the liberal Hollywood establishment. So nothing changes, I suppose, does it? I mean, we still believe that people can't think for themselves. Everyone else, that is, not us. We can think for ourselves. We know our own minds. We're strong-willed. We forge our own identities. But other people are pliable stooges, malleable. But nevertheless, this just feels a bit like an old argument that's been rehearsed a wee bit. But then, what do you expect? I mean, it's nostalgia, isn't it? And all the elements in it feel kind of nostalgic. You know, the cyborg kids that go wrong at the end. It's very Michael Crichton, isn't it? Very Westworld. The idea of, a girl in a young woman's cyborg body who becomes an alien whisperer is very kind of, it's a cocaine kind of idea, isn't it? And there's a lot of that in this. I mean, when we say that Noah cuts one kind of story with another, we have to wonder, what else was he cutting? There's a lot of weird shit in Alien Earth. It's a strange show. I mean, if I had to describe it in a word, I suppose that word would be alien! But that word wouldn't make any sense. So I suppose I would say conflicting. It's a conflicting show. There are elements of it I like very much. The production design is great. It fits right in with the universe of the original Alien movie. It slots right in there in terms of aesthetics and so on, and the presentation of the tech and all the rest of it. Jeff Russo's score is very Jerry Goldsmith-esque, maybe with the odd little bit of Vangelis chucked in for good measure. Looks great. Money's all on screen. It's technically indistinguishable from the Alien movies that inspired it. But in the shorter running time of those movies, there'd have to be a little bit more discipline, I think, in terms of emphasising the horror, providing the thrills, balancing the human and synthetic elements with the alien elements. After all, that's the marquee attraction. That's what we want to see, isn't it? We want to see the aliens. And we get a lot of alien action in this 10 hours, but they do become, inevitably, as the story continues, a bit of a sideshow. How can they not? There's 10 hours of story to fill. And it can't just be 10 hours of people, in blood-soaked encounters with the alien. It can't be 10 hours of people running down corridors with, lights above them and all the rest of it. It can't be that. It can't be 10 hours of smoke and doors that don't quite shut and all that stuff. Because we'd get very bored, wouldn't we? I mean, many people have said that the best episode of this series was the one smack bang in the middle, called In Space, No One, ... What could they be referring to there? It is essentially Noah's remake of Alien, and it looks a lot like Alien, and there are thrills in it like Alien, and it's a lot of fun for that reason. But it does draw attention to how sort of, I'm afraid, kind of padded out and at times uninvolving the rest of it is. It's not a terrible show. There are interesting characters. The child prodigy that, modestly names a $1 trillion company after himself, who sees the cyborg kids he's created as sort of living toys, and then he wants a greater buzz, so he tries to get the aliens involved and all the rest of it. Fine, okay, super. There's lots of horrific elements in here which are quite interesting. I like the alien that's just an eye on legs that inhabits other creatures and sort of, uses them as hosts to move around, and that was left on an interesting cliffhanger. In that final episode, you haven't seen a corpse repurposed that much since Weekend at Bernie's. So all of that was interesting. I liked the cyborg security officer on the ship that crashed. He had an interesting sort of arc. He's very loyal to the company, etc., etc. I suppose the idea there was to show, well, what if, Ash had survived Alien and been the only one to survive from the Nostromo, and he came into contact with people on Earth who had stolen their specimens and taken them off to a different lab on a different island somewhere. These are okay. These ideas are all right. It's a bit derivative. It's a bit, we've seen it before, but let's move it on a little bit, see what happens. It's okay. But the problem is that at the end of Alien Earth, what are you left with? You're left with Wendy, the alien whisperer, the deranged child droid in a young woman's body, who apparently has turned psychotic and decided that she wants to rule the world with her fellow cyborgs, and the aliens, which she can talk to because she's learned their language. Now, Wendy's not a particularly involving character until that final episode. She's certainly no David from the Prometheus series, which only makes you that much angrier that we're never going to see that third Prometheus movie. But the problem with the climax of Alien Earth is that it doesn't appear in any way to be congruous with what we know to happen further in the future. It's absolutely fine if the only Alien movie in the series is Alien. But what about Aliens? Remember Aliens? The one everyone likes? That's set 54 years after Alien. And on Earth, notably, there has not been a takeover by synthetics and aliens. They are, you might say, conspicuous by their absence. So we know that Wendy will not succeed in her mission to take over the world, and indeed to infiltrate human society, and presumably kill anybody that she doesn't like using the alien specimens that she's gathered. We know there won't be a civil war between the alien that's now occupied someone's corpse and the xenomorphs, because one would have thought that would be fucking mentioned. I mean, when Ripley got to Earth, or got home in Aliens, well, okay, I know she didn't perhaps quite make it all the way to Earth, she made it to a space station or whatever. If that had all been going on back home, I think they would have mentioned it to her, don't you? I don't think it would have been necessary for her to go to that meeting with all the bureaucrats from the company and explain that what happened in Alien, only to be told that she was full of shit. That wouldn't have happened, would it? They wouldn't have been so quick to dismiss her. They wouldn't have said... An alien, you say, that has concentrated acid for blood. Well, actually, they've taken over the Earth. They didn't say that, did they? They laughed her out the room. So this is a story that, if it's going to fit in with established alien canon, there's nowhere to go. Does it? And if it does escalate, as the final episode implies it must, where does that leave Alien? Because the thing about Alien was that the alien itself, the xenomorph, sort of had a certain novelty value. It was an unknown, wasn't it? It was certainly something that the company were keen to get their hands on once it had been reported to them, but they didn't appear to know anything about it. Well, are we now to infer that they knew all about it? And they were anxious to get their hands on one? Why would they need to do that when they're breeding like wildfire on Earth? See what I mean? It doesn't quite sync up, does it? Lots of questions to be unanswered. And ultimately, for this to fit in with Alien, ultimately everything that happens in this show is to go away. It's a bit like Star Trek Discovery. You know, none of it can really happen if you're going to maintain the future timeline. Now in Discovery, they hurled them 900 years into the future and contrived to have a policy of not recognising their existence for security purposes or whatever. Some shit like that. Well, they're not going to be able to do that here, are they? Too many will have seen, too many will have heard. That alien alone, if it gets to a populated area, could tell everybody everything, couldn't it? Now it has a being that can speak, that it can operate. So, Alien Earth, what's the final verdict? Well, it's a mixed bag, ladies and genitals. It's okay. Entertaining in places, exhilarating in moments, but ultimately dissatisfying, underwritten in places, and a bit of a mess, a bit of a mesh, if you like. A show that isn't quite sure what its strongest ideas are. And so I just thought, fuck it, I'll just give them a bit of everything. Maybe season 2, which is implied, would be more focused. I, for one, would be prepared to give the show another chance. I would like to see where it goes and how it fits in with established alien lore. But this first batch of episodes has been frustrating for me. I'm just interested enough to keep watching, but ready to pull out at any moment if things get a little bit too silly, which they're in danger of becoming. I'm sure that will keep Noah up at nights. So, that's it. That's the final word on Alien Earth Season 1. Assuming there will be more seasons. If not, that's the final word. You may tell your friends and relatives and your fellow Alien fans that couldn't be bothered to get a Disney Plus subscription what I've said, and pass it off as your own opinion. Okay? Super. Well, that's it for now. Until we've got something else to talk about, this is Dr. McAvoy, it's not my real name, saying bye!
Look into my eye.